A mother's burden, the fluorescent lights of the city bus, flickered overhead as Luna Rodriguez shifted her sleeping daughter against her chest. Little Stella had been fussing for the past hour, her tiny fists clenched as she fought against exhaustion. Luna's own body ached from another 12-hour shift at the downtown diner, her feet swollen in worn sneakers that had seen better days. The bus lurched to a stop, and more passengers climbed aboard, filling the already crowded space with the scent of rain and urban life. Luna pressed herself closer to the window, trying to make room while keeping Stella secure in her arms. The baby's soft whimpers threatened to escalate into full crying, and Luna felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. The breaking point, could you maybe keep that kid quiet? A harsh voice cut through the ambient noise of the bus. Luna turned to see a middle-aged man in a wrinkled suit glaring at her with obvious irritation. Some of us have had long days too. Luna's cheeks burned with embarrassment as she bounced Stella gently, whispering soothing words. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. I'm trying my best. The man rolled his eyes and turned away, but his complaint seemed to give others permission to voice their frustration. Whispers and pointed looks followed, making Luna feel smaller with each passing moment. She had been raising Stella alone for 8 months now, ever since her boyfriend Marcus had decided that fatherhood wasn't for him and disappeared without a trace. Stella's whimpers grew louder, echoing off the bus windows. The driver caught Luna's eye in the rearview mirror and shook his head disapprovingly. Ma'am, if you can't keep her calm, I might have to ask you to get off at the next stop. Luna's heart sank. They were still 15 blocks from home, and walking in the rain with a crying baby seemed impossible. She felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes as desperation washed over her. An unexpected angel. Excuse me, would you mind if I tried something? The voice was soft, warm, and completely unexpected. Luna turned to see a man seated across the aisle, probably in his early 30s, with kind dark eyes and an expensive-looking coat. Everything about him seemed out of place on this late night. Bus route through the city's working-class neighborhoods? Luna hesitated, her natural instinct to protect Stella warring with her desperate need for help. The stranger seemed to sense her uncertainty and offered a gentle smile. I have a younger sister, he said quietly, and I used to help take care of her when she was small. Sometimes a different pair of arms can work wonders. There was something about his manner that felt trustworthy. Luna looked down at Stella, who was working herself up to a full tantrum, then back at the stranger's patient expression. Slowly, she nodded. The man moved carefully across the narrow aisle and settled beside her. When Luna placed Stella in his arms, he cradled her with surprising skill, supporting her head perfectly and holding her against his chest with practiced ease. Almost immediately, Stella's cries began to soften. A moment of grace. What's her name? The stranger asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he gently rocked Stella. Stella, Luna managed, still amazed at how quickly her daughter had calmed down. Hello, Stella, he murmured to the baby, who was now looking up at him with curious eyes. You've got a beautiful name, little star. Luna watched in wonder as Stella's eyelids began to droop. The man's presence seemed to radiate calm, and for the first time in hours, Luna felt her own tension beginning to ease. The other passengers had returned to their phones and conversations, the earlier hostility forgotten. I'm Dante, he said softly, keeping his voice low so as not to disturb Stella's growing sleepiness. Luna, she replied, then felt compelled to add, thank you. I don't know what I would have done. Dante shook his head slightly. No need to thank me. Being a parent isn't easy, especially on your own. Something in his tone suggested he understood more than he was saying. Luna found herself studying his profile as he continued to rock Stella. His clothes were clearly expensive, but there was nothing pretentious about his manner. He seemed genuinely content to hold a stranger's baby on a crowded city bus. The weight of exhaustion as Stella finally drifted off to sleep, Luna felt her own exhaustion catching up with her. The adrenaline that had been keeping her upright began to fade, and her eyelids grew heavy. She tried to fight it, but the gentle motion of the bus and the relief of knowing Stella was safe made it impossible to stay alert. Without realizing it, Luna's head began to nod. body pushed beyond its limits by months of sleepless nights and endless worry, finally surrendered. She leaned unconsciously against Dante's shoulder, her breathing deepening as sleep claimed her. Dante felt the gentle weight of her head against him and remained perfectly still. He could see the exhaustion etched in her features, the way her hands still moved protectively even in sleep, and something inside him stirred. This wasn't pity or charity, he felt, but recognition. He remembered his own mother's struggles, the nights she had worked multiple jobs to keep them afloat, the way she had carried the world on her shoulders without complaint, a silent promise. The bus continued through the rain-licked streets. Dante held both mother and child with careful attention. He noticed the worn places on Luna's jacket, the way her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, the calluses on her hands that spoke of hard work. There was something about her strength, her determination to keep going despite overwhelming odds, that moved him deeply. When other passengers glanced their way, Dante met their gazes with quiet dignity, as if to say that this moment was sacred and deserved respect. He found himself hoping the journey would last longer, not wanting to disturb the peace that had settled over the small family unit they had temporarily formed. Stella stirred slightly in her sleep, and Dante adjusted his hold automatically, his movements so natural it seemed he had been caring for her all his life. In the reflection of the bus window, he caught a glimpse of the three of them together and felt something shift inside his chest, a recognition of something he hadn't known he was looking for. The city lights blurred past as the bus carried them through the night, and Dante found himself making a silent promise to the sleeping woman beside him and the child in his arms. This wouldn't be the end of their story. Somehow, he would find a way to help them, to ease the burden that this brave young mother carried alone. As Luna's stop approached, Dante gently woke her, his touch careful and respectful. Luna's eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to embarrassment as she realized where she had been sleeping. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, but Dante just smiled and carefully transferred Stella back to her arms. "Take care of yourself, Luna," he said as she gathered her things, "both of you." As the bus pulled away from her stop, Luna stood on the sidewalk, holding Stella close, watching the taillights disappear into the night. She didn't know the stranger's last name, or whether she would ever see him again, but something had changed in those quiet moments on the bus. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone in the world. Morning reflections. The next morning arrived gray and drizzly, matching Luna's mood as she prepared for another long day at the diner. Stella had slept peacefully through the night, perhaps still influenced by the calming presence of the mysterious stranger from the bus. Luna found herself thinking about Dante as she dressed for work, wondering about his story and why someone so obviously well-off had been riding public transportation through her neighborhood. She dropped Stella off at Mrs. Cassell Rodriguez's apartment down the hall, a kind elderly woman who watched several children for working mothers in the building. The arrangement wasn't ideal, but it was all Luna could afford. Mrs. Rodriguez genuinely cared for the children in her care. "You look tired, Mia," Mrs. Rodriguez observed as Luna handed over Stella's diaper bag. "Everything okay?" Luna managed a small smile. "Just the usual. Long night, early morning. You know how it is." The older woman nodded knowingly and took Stella into her arms. "Oh, this little angel will be fine with me. You take care of yourself today. An ordinary day turns extraordinary." The Metro Diner sat on a busy corner downtown, its chrome exterior and red vinyl booths, a throwback to better times. Luna had been working there for almost 2 years, ever since Stella was born, and she needed a job that offered flexible hours. The pay wasn't great, but the tips helped. And her manager, Rick, tolerated her occasional absences when Stella was sick. The morning rush was typical. A blur of coffee orders, breakfast specials, and harried commuters grabbing food on their way to office jobs. Luna moved efficiently between tables, her body operating on autopilot while her mind wandered. She was refilling the coffee station when the bell above the door chimed, announcing another customer. She looked up and froze. Dante stood in the doorway, shaking raindrops from his dark coat. He looked around the diner with curious eyes before spotting her behind the counter. Their gazes met, and he smiled that same gentle smile from the night before. "Well, this is a surprise," he said, approaching the counter. I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop in for coffee. Luna felt her cheeks warm as she reached. For a mug? Just in the neighborhood? This isn't exactly the financial district. Dante's smile widened. Maybe I was hoping I'd run into a certain waitress and her beautiful daughter. The honest admission caught Luna off guard. She poured his coffee with slightly trembling hands, hyper-aware of the other customers and staff around them. Not here. She's with a babysitter while I work. Of course, Dante said, accepting the steaming mug. How is she today? Any lingering effects from last night's adventure? Luna found herself relaxing despite her nervousness. She slept through the night for the first time in weeks. I think you have some kind of magic touch. Or maybe she just needed someone to... Listen, Dante replied, taking a sip of his coffee. Sometimes that's all any of us need. Unexpected kindness throughout her shift. Luna found herself glancing toward Dante's table more often than she cared to admit. He seemed content to sit with his coffee and a newspaper, occasionally looking up to catch her eye and smile. When other customers became demanding or rude, she noticed him watching with a protective expression that both warmed and confused her. During her lunch break, Luna sat in the small employee area behind the kitchen, eating a hastily assembled sandwich. She was surprised when Rick, the diner manager, approached with an envelope in his hand. That guy at table 6 left this for you, Rick said, his expression unreadable. Said it was important. Luna's heart skipped as she opened the envelope. Inside was a note written in elegant handwriting, for Stella's next doctor visit or whatever else you might need. No strings attached, just one parent looking out for another. Beneath the note were several crisp $100 bills. Luna stared at the money, emotions warring inside her chest. Part of her wanted to run after Dante and return it immediately, her pride bristling at accepting what felt like charity. But another part of her, the practical mother who worried constantly about making ends meet, recognized this as a genuine gift that could solve several pressing problems. When she returned to the dining area, Dante was gone. The only sign he had been there was the perfectly folded napkin beside his empty coffee cup, and the exact change for his order, plus a generous tip, an internal storm that evening. Luna sat in her small apartment with Stella on her lap, staring at the envelope Dante had left. The money represented more than just financial relief. It was a gesture of faith from someone who barely knew her. But accepting it felt like crossing a line she had drawn around herself since Marcus left. Do you think, baby girl? She whispered to Stella, who was contentedly chewing on a soft toy. Should Mommy trust the nice man from the bus? Stella gurgled happily as if giving her approval. Luna's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I hope I didn't overstep. Sometimes we all need a little help, if you're uncomfortable. With the gift, consider it a loan. Dante Luna stared at the message, wondering how he had gotten her number, then realizing he must have asked Rick. The fact that he had anticipated her discomfort and offered an alternative showed a level of understanding that surprised her. She typed and deleted several responses before finally settling on, "Thank you. I don't know what to say." His reply came quickly. "You don't have to say anything, just take care of yourself and Stella." A second encounter 3 days later, Luna was working the evening shift when Dante appeared again. This time he wasn't alone. A distinguished older woman with silver hair and kind eyes accompanied him. They chose a corner booth and Luna approached with menus, her curiosity piqued. "Luna, I'd like you to meet my mother, Catherine," Dante said warmly. "Mom, this is Luna, the remarkable woman I told you about." Catherine's eyes lit up with genuine interest. "It's wonderful to meet you, dear. Dante hasn't stopped talking about you and your daughter since the other night." Luna felt herself blushing as she took their order. Catherine was warm and engaging, asking about Stella and showing genuine interest in Luna's life without being intrusive. When Luna mentioned that she was studying for her GED in her spare time, Catherine's face brightened with approval. "Education is so important," she said. "I went back to school when Dante was young. It wasn't easy, but it opened doors I never thought possible." As Luna served other customers, she found herself stealing glances at the mother and son. Their easy rapport and obvious affection for each other reminded her of what she had lost when her own mother passed away 2 years earlier. She felt a pang of longing for that kind of family connection. A growing connection when Catherine excused herself to use the restroom. Dante seized the opportunity to speak with Luna privately. "I wanted to apologize if bringing my mother here makes you uncomfortable," he said. "She's been wanting to meet you ever since I told her about the bus." Luna shook her head. "She's lovely, it's just I'm not used to people taking an interest in my life." "Maybe it's time you got used to it," Dante said gently. "You deserve to have people care about you, Luna." Before Luna could respond, Catherine returned, and the moment passed. But something had shifted in the air between them, an acknowledgement of growing feelings that neither was quite ready to address directly as they prepared to leave. Catherine pressed a small wrapped package into Luna's hands. "Just a little something for Stella," she said with a conspiratorial wink. "Grandmother's prerogative, even honorary ones." Walls coming down later that night, after Stella was asleep, Luna opened Catherine's gift. Inside was a beautiful hand-knitted baby blanket in soft pink and white, clearly made with love and skill. A small note was tucked inside. "Every baby should have something made just for them. Welcome to our family." Catherine Luna held the blanket to her chest, overwhelmed by the kindness of these virtual strangers who seemed determined to include her in their world. For the first time since Marcus left, she allowed herself to imagine what it might be like to not face every challenge alone. Her phone buzzed with another message from Dante. "Would you like to have coffee sometime, somewhere other than the diner? Just the two of us?" Luna stared at the message for a long time, her heart racing. This was the moment where she could choose to keep her walls up or take a chance on something new. She thought about Stella, about the future she wanted to build for both of them, and about the gentle man who had held her daughter with such care. Finally, she typed her response. "I'd like that. But Stella comes too. We're a package deal." "Wouldn't have it any other way," came his immediate reply, followed by, "Saturday afternoon? There's a park with a playground near downtown. Stella might enjoy the swings." As Luna prepared for bed that night, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time: hope. Maybe, just maybe, her story was about to take a turn she had never dared to dream possible. A perfect Saturday morning dawned bright and clear, the first truly beautiful day Luna had seen in weeks. She found herself taking extra care, getting ready, choosing a soft blue sweater that brought out her eyes, and actually putting on a touch of makeup for the first time in months. Stella seemed to sense the special nature of the day, babbling happily as Luna dressed her in a sunny yellow outfit that Catherine had included with the blanket. The park Dante had suggested was a 20-minute bus ride from Luna's apartment. But she arrived early, wanting to compose herself before seeing him again. Riverside Park was more beautiful than she had expected, with mature trees providing shade over well-maintained walking paths and a playground that looked like it had been recently updated. Luna was pushing Stella in one of the baby swings when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "She looks like she was born to fly," Dante said, approaching with 2 coffee cups in hand. He was dressed casually in dark jeans and a green sweater that made his eyes look even warmer than usual. "She loves movement," Luna replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Sometimes it's the only thing that calms her down when she's fussy." Dante moved to stand beside her, and together they watched Stella giggle with delight as the swing carried her gently back and forth. "She has your laugh," he observed. Musical and genuine. Luna felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. "Very observant for someone who's only known us a week." "Sometimes a week can feel like a lifetime," Dante said quietly, his eyes meeting hers, "especially when you meet someone who changes how you see the world." Deeper conversations after the playground. They found a quiet spot on a bench overlooking the river. Stella sat contentedly on Luna's lap, playing with a soft toy while the adults talked. What started as casual conversation gradually deepened as they discovered unexpected connections. "I never planned to be a single mother," Luna found herself admitting. "Marcus seemed so excited when I first told him about the pregnancy. He talked about all the things he wanted to teach our child, the places he wanted to take them. Then reality set in, and he realized he wasn't ready to give up his freedom." Dante listened without judgment, his expression thoughtful. "Loss. became the world's gain, he said finally. Stella is lucky to have a mother who chose her over everything else. Some days I wonder if I made the right choice, Luna confessed. Money's always tight, I'm constantly tired, and I worry that I'm not giving her everything she deserves. Love is everything she deserves, Dante said firmly. Material things are nice, but they can't replace the security of knowing you're wanted and cherished. You give her that every day. Luna looked down at Stella, who had fallen asleep against her chest. What about you? Have you ever thought about having children? Dante was quiet for a moment, his gaze distant. I always assumed I would someday, but I've been so focused on building my business that I never met anyone who made me want to slow down and think about the future differently. He paused, then added softly, until recently. Afternoon wore on. Luna learned more about Dante's background. He had built a successful consulting firm from nothing, working 80-hour days for years to establish himself in the competitive business world. His success had brought financial security, but also isolation, as he found it difficult to trust people's motives when they learned about his wealth. Most people see dollar signs when they look at me, he admitted. Now, they want something, whether it's investment money, social connections, or just the lifestyle they think I can provide. It's refreshing to meet someone who doesn't see me as a resource to be exploited. I'm sorry, Luna said impulsively. That must be lonely. Dante smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. It has been flattered. But lately I've been thinking that maybe I've been looking for connection in all the wrong places. Maybe instead of trying to find someone who fits into my world, I should find someone whose world I want to be part of. The weight of his words hung between them, and Luna felt her heart racing. Dante, I should tell you something. I don't know how to do this, the dating thing. I haven't been with anyone since Marcus, and even that relationship was complicated. I come with baggage and responsibilities that most men aren't interested in taking on. What if I told you that your so-called baggage is actually what draws me to you? Dante said, turning to face her fully. Your strength, your dedication too? Stella, the way you've built a life for both of you despite every obstacle. That's not baggage, Luna. That's character. A moment of truth as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Stella woke from her nap and immediately reached for Dante. Without hesitation, took her into his arms, and she settled against him as if she belonged there. She trusts you, Luna observed, something tight loosening in her chest as she watched them together. The feeling is mutual, Dante replied, adjusting Stella's position so she could see the ducks on the river. Look, Stella, can you see the mama duck and her babies? Stella pointed excitedly at the water, babbling in her own language. Dante responded as if he understood every word, carrying on a conversation that made Luna laugh despite the emotions. Swirling inside her, Dante, she said when Stella had turned her attention back to her toy. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. He looked at her expectantly, his expression serious. What do you want from this from us? Because if this is some kind of rescue fantasy, or if you're looking for a project to make yourself feel good, I need to know now. I can't afford to let Stella get attached to someone who's going to disappear when reality sets in. Dante was quiet for a long moment, considering his words carefully. 6 months ago, if someone had told me I'd be sitting in a park holding a baby and feeling more content than I have in years, I would have thought they were crazy. I built my life around control, around maintaining distance, around protecting myself from getting too involved in messy, complicated situations. He shifted Stella to one arm so he could reach for Luna's hand. But the night I met you on the bus, something shifted. Watching you hold it together when everything was falling apart, seeing the love in your eyes when you looked at Stella even though you were exhausted and overwhelmed, I realized I'd been living half a life. I want to be part of your story, Luna. Not because I think you need saving, but because you and Stella make me want to be a better version of myself. The leap Luna felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. I'm scared, she whispered.
What?
If we try this, and it doesn't work? What if you decide that the reality of our life is too much? Stella's already getting attached to you. I'm scared too, Dante admitted. I've never been responsible for someone else's happiness before. I'd rather be scared with you than safe and alone. As if sensing the importance of the moment, Stella reached out and grabbed both their hands, pulling them together with surprising strength for such a small person. Luna and Dante looked at their joined hands, then at each other, and Luna felt something click into place in her heart. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's try this. But we take it slow, and we're honest with each other about everything. If this is going to work, it has to be real." Dante brought her hand to his lips and kissed it gently.
Oh.
"Real is all I want," he said. "Real and messy and complicated and beautiful. A new beginning." As they walked back toward the bus stop, Stella riding on Dante's shoulders and Luna walking beside them, Luna felt a sense of possibility she hadn't experienced in years. The practical part of her mind still whispered warnings about moving too fast and risking too much, but for once her heart was louder than her fears. "There's something I want to ask you," Dante said as they waited for the bus. "My company is hosting a charity gala next weekend. It's a big event, very formal, and normally not the kind of thing I'd suggest for a third date. But this year, we're raising money for a scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing higher education, and I'd love to have you there with me." Luna's eyes widened. "A charity gala? Dante, I don't have anything to wear to something like that, and I wouldn't know how to act around those people." "You'd be perfect exactly as you are," he said firmly. "But if the clothes are a concern, I have a solution for that. As for how to act, just be yourself. That's all I ever want from you." Luna thought about it as the bus approached. 6 months ago, the idea of attending a high society event would have seemed as likely as flying to the moon. But looking at Dante's hopeful expression and feeling Stella's little hand pat her cheek as if giving her approval, Luna found herself nodding. "Okay," she said, surprising herself with her own courage. "But you'll have to help me figure out what to do with Stella." "Already handled," Dante said with a grin. "My mother has been begging for babysitting duties. She's been buying toys all week in preparation." As the bus pulled up, Luna realized that her carefully constructed walls were completely down. For the first time since Stella was born, she was allowing herself to dream about a future that included more than just survival. It was terrifying and exhilarating and completely outside her comfort zone. But as Dante helped her onto the bus and Stella clapped her hands with delight at the adventure, Luna thought that maybe, just maybe, the best things in life happened when you stopped playing it safe and started believing in magic.